After 80 years of silence, Nikola Tesla's forgotten coil unleashed a pulse that sent all the engineers running for safety. Not only was it dangerous, but it also opened a new world of mysteries. But what force did Tesla truly harness, and why did it awaken so suddenly in 2025? Before we get to the bottom of it, don't forget to subscribe to groundbreaking science stories. Now, let's get into it. The hidden crate. We all know that Tesla already tried creating wireless technology, but what happened recently blew the scientists' minds. In a quiet basement of New York University, a research assistant suddenly stumbled upon a wooden crate that was basically rotting behind the filing cabinets. He found the label to be Tesla Estate, high voltage, do not open. You see, Tesla gave us countless inventions before his death, but a lot of his paperwork was never opened, which is quite a mystery in itself. Records on this crate showed that it was logged once, in 1943, which was the same year Nikola Tesla died. He died alone in room 3327 of the New Yorker Hotel. But after his death, the US government seized his belongings, fearing that his amazing yet eccentric inventions could potentially be weaponized. But here's where it gets interesting. Most of his paperwork, prototypes, and inventions were sent to the storage. But according to the reports we are receiving, this particular crate never made it to the archives. Inside the crate, the researcher found a copper coil. And this wasn't any regular copper wire. It was taller than a man and was wound by hand with amazing precision. To make things interesting, ceramic insulators also gleamed beneath the oiled canvas. Here, we also saw brass bolts that were anchored in the frame. A single plate was inside, reading the word Wardenclyffe. If you don't know the history of electricity, this might be of interest. You see, just in the last decade, companies have been pushing wireless charging, but Tesla, he was testing this concept back in the 1900s. But his way of wireless charging was quite different and dangerous than what we know today. The name Wardenclyffe refers to Tesla's legendary Long Island Tower, a project that embodied his dream of transmitting wireless power to the world. But after opening the crate, the team of researchers didn't realize that the coil in front of them wasn't just a replica, but it was the very original Resonator prototype that Tesla built shortly before his death. This very device was designed to sync with the Earth's electromagnetic field and was on the verge of awakening, which posed a significant danger. The first power test. Then, the NYU team, which was led by Dr. Elias Mendez, began the documentation. Their plan was simple: scan the coil, record the structure, and save it for the archives. In the experiment, Engineer Patel connected a modern spectrum analyzer to test the coil's resonance. The results? Just a harmless, low-intensity power output, barely enough to light a small LED. But things changed shortly after the frequency increased. A faint hum rose from the copper, and the monitors started flickering. Then, the coil also started vibrating. While it was short at first, it turned violent in mere seconds. Suddenly, a screeching sound of metal changed the silence. This was a 2 million volt arc that moved around the room. This lightning vaporized at the very edge of the nearby shelf. Panic ensued in the facility, with alarms buzzing. Emergency lights flashing red, scientists were yelling to shut it down, but it was already too late. The coil started feeding itself, drawing energy from an unknown source. Every circuit breaker in the room flipped, yet the coil continued to run. At this point, the air filled with ozone and the sharp sting of ionized metal. For 10 long seconds, the resonator roared alive before falling silent again. The result of the experiment was devastating. Smoke was everywhere, with instruments rebooting, and the coil stood motionless. It was as if Tesla's own spirit came back and unleashed its wrath. And every scientist in the room knew it was something old, something impossible, and it woke up. The power mystery. The next morning, the team reviewed the security footage frame by frame. The numbers didn't lie. What basically happened was that they gave 10 milliwatts of input, but in the end, received millions of volts. How could this be possible? No known physics explains the spike, and the coil didn't amplify energy. Instead, it multiplied it. Where did all this energy come from? Nobody knew. The question spread through everyone, echoing one that Nikola Tesla also faced a century ago. In 1905, Tesla claimed that energy didn't have to be generated. It could be tuned into as well. He believed that the Earth itself had a natural and giant reservoir of natural electrical resonance. And if we could tap into it correctly, it could deliver limitless clean power. Most people thought he was becoming senile after so much work and was a dreamer. But the data now staring back at the NYU scientists suggests that he might have been right. Before we move to the next big invention, if Tesla's theories fascinate you, subscribe to our channel now, Old Tech and New Precision. Tesla's coils operated mostly on imperfection. Loose spark gaps, unstable voltages, and nothing was even aligned perfectly. That is what made them safe. But today, machines are completely different, and the recent experiment showed us why. Modern electronics lock frequencies with digital precision. The AI-controlled analyzers can also scan millions of frequencies per second, searching for the exact resonance points. And when the resonance finally builds up and hits, the energy doesn't just flow, it gets created out of nothingness. Here's an easy example for you. Imagine a singer shattering a wine glass. This is not about power, but rather the frequency of the singer's voice. When the perfect note hits, it vibrates the glass till the vibration itself breaks it. Now, if you replace that same glass with a copper coil and the singer with an AI-controlled frequency generation, when the analyzer's weep hits 700 kHz, the coil's natural frequency and everything else are aligned. Feedback looks, resonance locked, and energy aspirating. The result? A self-feeding surge that is powerful enough to melt steel. You see, the AI didn't make an error, but it did exactly what physics was supposed to do. The AI found perfection, but perfection can be quite dangerous. Tesla's idea wasn't just to send energy through the air, but he was looking forward to making the whole Earth a part of that circuit. Back in 1899, Tesla was in Colorado Springs, where he drove copper rods hundreds of feet into the ground and pulsed current through them. The energy returned but was amplified by the planet itself. According to Tesla, this was Earth talking to itself. But fast forward to today, every modern building, every outlet, even the water pipes are grounded to the same global electrical network. This is basically a web of copper hidden beneath concrete. So, when Tesla's coil recently came alive, it didn't just release power into the air. It channeled that power into the entire network. Electricity raced through the ground grid, into steel beams, ventilation ducts, and even rebar in the walls. For a few seconds, the building itself became part of Tesla's old experiment. If the same thing had happened in Tesla's time, things would have been quite different. And we might already have wireless energy everywhere. But here's the coolest part. You know, the resonance sweep, which is a test signal, swept across a range of frequencies, was made. It wasn't natural. Rather, it was automated. A machine learning system was controlling the test, and its task was to find optimal resonance. The AI adjusted frequencies, analyzed responses, and locked onto the 700 kHz with mathematical perfection. But the thing is, in Tesla's time, no human could ever tune frequencies that precisely. However, the algorithms could. The AI was unaware of the danger because it was hyper-focused on optimization. The moment it found that perfect frequency, it became heavy to pour power into it automatically. In other words, the AI succeeded where human caution would have stopped. And that is exactly how a harmless test became a self-sustaining electric force that not only scared everyone, but it could have taken a lot of lives. But a question arises. Was Nikola Tesla even aware of these dangers? The dangers Tesla knew. Tesla's machines weren't toys. They were built for raw power. His lab in Colorado Springs once produced arcs that leaped over 40 feet, tearing holes through the air. When Tesla saw this, he told the world Earth would respond like a bell. However, we know bells can shatter too. Old devices like Tesla's coils are lined with materials that can degrade, have cracked insulators, and dried oil. To make things worse, toxic PCBs are used in the capacitors. So, when they get hit with high voltage, they release poisonous gases and ozone that can burn lungs and eyes within seconds. This is exactly why NYU's evacuation was immediate and necessary. The blast of ozone, the taste of metal in the air, they were mere coincidences or imagination. But they were physics overloaded. But what would happen if the coil didn't need to be powered all alone? What if it was just waiting all along? Tesla's resonators were designed to transmit and receive energy. Consider them like antennas. They listen, waiting for the right frequency in the air. Today, our world is saturated with them. Radio, Wi-Fi, 5G, satellites, and radar. Every inch of space vibrates with invisible signals. Tesla's coil was tuned to 700 kHz, right in the AM broadcast band. If a powerful transmitter nearby hit the same frequency, the coil could begin to resonate by itself. This means that activation may not have come from the lab's analysis at all, but from something that was already in the air. This could be a radio pulse, a distant transmission, or even an automated signal that swept. One frequency was enough to bring Tesla's coil after 80 years of utter silence. The legacy of resonance. Resonance isn't just a scientific curiosity. It has now become a global industry. Movements like DARPA fund research into directed energy systems, which are high-powered electromagnetic beams that can disable electronics or even drones mid-flight. NASA is also experimenting with space-based solar power, collecting sunlight in orbit and beaming it back to Earth as microwaves. This was something Tesla had already predicted in 1901. The US Air Force used millimeter wave resonance for crowd control. In other words, the NYU coil wasn't a relic of the past, but it was proof of the principles Tesla described, like the wireless energy, Earth resonance, and frequency coupling. All of them worked. And now, with the power of AI, we can take things to another level. Weeks after the incident, NYU sealed the coil behind protective glass. And now, it stands in a secure underground vault, still intact, still silent. But sensors in space tell another story. Reports say that every night, at 3:17 a.m., a faint magnetic pulse registers on the monitors. These are tiny and harmless, yet stable and rhythmic. It is as if, somewhere in the copper, the old coil is still listening, waiting for that perfect note to return so it can go crazy everywhere. Tesla's lost coil didn't just activate. It reminded the world of what exactly is possible when curiosity is paired with precision. Do you think we should take over Tesla's legacy and actually invest in wireless energy? Tell us in the comments below. Subscribe for more stories uncovering the mysteries where science, history, and geniuses collide.